Hello and welcome back to the Motorsport Bear Hug podcast. I'm your host Didi, and joining me today once again is my friend and your co-host Vedant. On this episode, we just talk about the season finale that is in less than 48 hours. So let's grab some chai, take our seats, ready our opinions, and dive right into the conversation. Vedant, in about 48 hours, we'll know who the champion is. Hopefully, if it doesn't go to the stewards, and then we have to wait another week. But hopefully, in 48 hours, we'll know who the champion is of the 2021 season. Only second time ever in the history of Formula One. 47 years after, the first time when two championship contenders went into the final race on equal points. Last time it was Emerson Fittipaldi and Clay Regazzoni in 1974, and Emerson Fittipaldi emerged victorious at the end of that race. This is definitely the calm before the storm. A lot to talk about, but before we dive right into, what is at the crux of this particular season, I want to know how you're feeling because I remember we didn't plan on doing this. This is a last minute thing because we both are excited, but I want to know from in your own words, what are your emotions right now?
Well, since the past 4 days, my emotions have changed basically. On Monday, I was pretty scared about what was going to happen in Abu Dhabi this Sunday. I had all these permutations and combinations in my head and everything like that. But I think now I'm a bit more, not relieved, but I think I'm appreciating the season as a whole more, right? I'm not just focusing on the race, but appreciating the season on a whole. And since this has been arguably the best Formula One season in the 72 years, because we are head to head in the final race. That's happened, as you said, only once before.
After 21 races.
Yeah, exactly.
Not after 10 races, not after 8 races, 15 races, after 21 races.
Absolutely. So it's definitely the best season after 2012, but it is one of the best seasons in Formula One history. And that itself, regardless of whatever happens on Sunday, that itself is a great, great story. And that makes me happy.
Yeah, I think you put it right. Last weekend when we were talking about this season, we were scared, that it was going to be infamous. And it still could be, depending on what happens on Sunday. But the mindset is not there, the focus is not on what happened in Saudi.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
at least I and, both of us have moved on from there. And we are more excited than nervous and, just looking forward to this intense battle that is going to happen this Sunday. But before we get to Max, Lewis, Christian, and Toto, and FIA too, let's just run through the things that have happened, or the messages and things that have come out over the last week. And now, obviously, this is Honda's last race as an engine manufacturer in the turbo hybrid era. Last time, they could have won. They won the championship that season. This is also George's last race for Williams, so it will be a memorable one for him. Valtteri's last race for Mercedes. So a lot of lasts, and then we all obviously have Kimi and Antonio, and I think the messages that especially the Alfa Romeo team has put on their engine covers has been very. It's been just perfect. Let's just put it that way. It's been on point. It's been perfect.
Yeah.
For Antonio, obviously, it was a simple message. In Italian, grazie di tutto, Antonio. Thank you, Antonio. And then for Kimi, they put in, dear Kimi, we will leave you alone now. And I don't think they could have done a better job. So whoever came up with that, great stuff there. And then Antonio will also be sporting a Kimi tribute helmet this weekend. Yeah, I'm that excited. And then, Kimi being Kimi, when he was asked during the interview, on the Thursday interview about the final race, whether he was looking forward to it, Kimi said, I'm looking forward to when it's done. And I think Kimi is already done, as he crashed out his car in FP2 in the closing moments. so he's checked out, and I'm sure he'll enjoy his last race. And a shout out to Lollipop Comics for a great Kimi related post today about he connected the Alfa Romeo logo to Kimi basically. If you go look at the post, it'll explain it. I don't want to spoil it for people. But yeah, so a lot of laughs this weekend. So it's going to be an emotional weekend for a lot of people, those who are staying on the grid and those who are not staying on the grid. And especially for Antonio, I feel, from the outside as fans who have not interacted with him, it's hard to know really appreciate what he's given to the sport. But from all the interviews and what we have heard from, uh, you know, from the likes of Will Buxton or Lawrence Barreto or anyone who's on the grid, everybody has said that it'll be a loss for F1 when Antonio leaves. That he's such a not just a nice person, but such a memorable person, for whoever's interacted with him. So that goes to show something. And Antonio keeps talking about the fact that he's only leaving F1 for now. So obviously, he wants to come back to the sport at some point in time. But yeah, hopefully, he'll come back stronger, and hopefully he'll have a great Formula E season over the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with yeah, I mean, you put it pretty well, and it will be strange to not see Kimi and Antonio and their shenanigans on the grid next season.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if you saw all these teams do some PR stuff,
Yeah.
and then they put out a video of Kimi and Antonio
Yeah,
this past week. So that was pretty fun. I have never seen Kimi so engaged, and I'm pretty sure he said more words in that video than Antonio did. If you
Yeah.
look
I mean,
at that.
I haven't seen
you know-
Kimi interact with a teammate as much as he does with Antonio, basically.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Have you seen like the last James Bond movie that came out? No Time to Die.
Yeah,
So you know how Daniel Craig goes from this really stern, almost this character that Daniel Craig has always been to being a more softer character with a lot more emotion
Yeah.
and whatnot. I feel like Kimi is going through the same transition, and I think that analogy really suits Kimi. I feel.
and I mean, there's
There's
a theory that Kimi might be the next James Bond. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, I'm pretty sure whoever's writing that script will have a great time. He won't have to think about dialogues at all. But yeah, anyway. FP1 and FP2 is complete at the moment of recording this podcast. So obviously we've seen some running, we know the results, and the biggest news is that Max Verstappen is 6/10ths down on Lewis Hamilton in FP2 on the same tire. But we'll come to that in a second. In other, let's just talk about the other drivers first, because I know this is going to take a while before we do that. Esteban Ocon split the two Mercedes, but I feel there's more pace to come from Bottas. But whatever Alpine have done to that car over the last two races is definitely suiting it for sure. Yuki finished ahead of Pierre Gasly in both practice sessions. Is Yuki going to end this year on a high? And then the Ferraris have finished 8th and 9th. Surprisingly, it doesn't look like the Ferrari have turned up their engines yet, as Mattia Binotto had said they would going into the last weekend of the season. So I'm still waiting to see the real pace of Ferrari this weekend. I'm hoping some shenanigans from them, and I'm hoping they'll be up there, making it difficult for Sergio and Valtteri, at least, if not Lewis and Max during the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I forgot to write, but another driver that we need to talk about is Jack Aitken. He came back from a horrific crash in Spa, and just 3-4 months ago, and has made a complete recovery, and now he was part of that FP1 session. So that is pretty good, and I mean, that is what motorsports is about. The perseverance, the determination to come back after every single upset.
Absolutely, it is. And really cheeky from, I guess, F1, they lined up both the team principals together once again in the Thursday press conference, and they lined up the two title contenders, Lewis and Max, during the Thursday press conference also.
I mean,
However, I feel they didn't get the shenanigans or the fireworks they were expecting. It was a pretty placid, press conference from all four of them. So it was nice to see that. It was nice to see a lot of level-headedness. And even last week, and Toto and Christian were a lot more level-headed than they've been the entire season, I feel.
It's not pro boxing, It is motorsport. It is, I mean,
you would have said otherwise, 6-7 weekends ago.
But yeah.
But Toto might not have poked Christian, but Christian definitely poked FIA, F1, and Toto when he said that F1 has taken out all the corners at Abu Dhabi that Mercedes did not like even before the race has begun.
Yeah.
So he's already looking for excuses.
Yeah, I mean that was. I mean, but I think that might have been taken out of context because he was talking to Karun Chandak at the time when he said that, and
Yeah.
Karun was the guy who worked on the redesign, right?
On these changes,
So, but yeah,
I mean, you know,
nonetheless, it is an excuse, you know.
Didn't Karun get to drive the W12 or one of the cars earlier this year, last year, something like that?
Yeah, he has driven.
I
He
think
has
he
driven
did.
a lot of
Yeah,
Mercedes
so
for.
this might have been the payment for that.
Yeah. Karun
But anyway.
has addressed that exact conspiracy theory in his tweet. So
Okay, I was not listening to that particular interview. If that is the case, this was just me. But yeah, Michael Massey also issued a warning going into this weekend that there is a potential of points deduction if the drivers don't behave on track. We all are hoping that that will not be the case. But let's see what happens. I just don't want. See whatever happens, even if it goes to the stewards. I want it to be decided while the race is going on, just not 10 hours after
Yeah.
the race. That is what I want. I mean, what I want is something else, but I'll settle for that if that happens.
yeah.
But yeah, now let's come to the crux of it. Obviously, we're 10 minutes in. Let's not waste any more time. Max 6 tenths down on Lewis Hamilton in FP2. Where is the pace, my friend? Where is the pace? What do you have to say about this, Vedant? This is not looking good. Esteban Ocon is in, splitting them. Valtteri Bottas has some pace. What are Mercedes doing? What is Red Bull going to do?
I mean, Mercedes have been the faster car throughout the last part of the season, but Max Verstappen still, even in Saudi, we saw he was gunning for pole, and even but we can, basically he can bring that pace out of nowhere on Saturday and on Sunday. So it's only Friday, it's only race simulations and qualifying simulations. It's not a give all session per se, so you never know.
So obviously talking about that, Max stopped FP1, but that is not representative of the pace because of the time,
The timing, yeah.
the time of the day when the session takes place, whereas FP2 is very much representative of the time of the day the race and the qualifying will take place in. Do you think there is a change in strategy on how the teams are approaching this particular race weekend? Do you think there is an emphasis, a greater emphasis from Mercedes to concentrate on the qualifying pace because overtaking is usually difficult around the circuit, whereas Red Bull might be going for a different approach because 6 tenths is a huge difference. We've seen Lewis not be on the pace. So the reason I ask this question is because usually we see Max and Valtteri up there during the practice sessions, right, topping the charts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that is okay. That is what generally happens from both these teams and drivers. But Lewis is never up there usually. Even if he's up there, it's not by much, and he's usually taking it slow into the weekend and figuring out what the other drivers are doing. And then once Saturday comes around, Lewis starts to turn up, and once we go into qualifying, then we see the real pace of Lewis's car. So it was a bit strange for me, not too strange, but a bit strange that Lewis was putting in such fast laps during FP2. So I feel like there's a change in strategy, and Mercedes might be emphasizing more on race strategy, or I might just be wrong, and Red Bull are just lacking pace, but that is
But
difficult to digest, and
you might be right about the different strategies, because I think during the commentary for free practice 2 they said that Red Bull's race pace is probably better than the race pace they have been aiming for, basically for the weekend. So I don't remember exactly what they said, but I think it was indicative of that. So yeah,
okay.
that might be the
Yeah,
case.
because I was not able to watch this session or hear anything. I've been working all morning, but yeah. So just a little worrisome. Hopefully there'll be some we'll have a great weekend, and yeah. But hopefully Max will be on pace tomorrow to see what's happening. What was gonna say next? Obviously, we talked about the race strategy. You know, whether there's a difference there. Um, yeah, this is the point I wanted to make. If you look at all the championship battles this year, all the teams and drivers that started out the year slowly are the ones who came out on top. Now, whether that is Alpine versus AlphaTauri, whether that is
McLaren,
Ferrari
Ferrari,
versus
yeah.
McLaren, whether that is Williams versus Alfa Romeo, or whether that is
Yeah, even Mercedes and Red
maybe
Bull,
Max. Yeah, even Mercedes and Red Bull. So I mean, there's two ways to think about Mercedes and Red Bull because with the other three battles, I feel the teams that ended up coming out on top, they started the year slow both on pace and on points compared to the other
yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Whereas between Mercedes and Red Bull started out the year um, with a pace advantage but a points deficit. Whereas Mercedes started out the year with a pace disadvantage and a points advantage because they
yeah.
had more points during the first few races. So I mean, just an observation there. Nothing to nothing to overanalyze there. Just a tidbit there from
It's
what
about
I've
the
seen.
momentum. It's
Uh,
about the momentum.
it's definitely about the momentum. But we'll see what happens. Lewis's engine could blow up. Max might send it too hard. We don't know what's gonna happen. We are just waiting and excited for what is about to come. Now I want to talk about the FIA. When the 10-second penalty came out, was awarded on last Sunday. I I thought it was weird that it was a 10-second penalty, but I couldn't put a finger on it as to why I felt weird about it, and I never decided to look into it. But I was listening to the WTF1 podcast on Tuesday, and finally, like always, Tommy brought it up, and he had previously said that FIA can influence the championship, and they might try to influence it, and he said that is what may have happened both in Brazil and in Saudi last weekend. In Brazil, obviously it was a few races ago, so it's hard to say what happened, and maybe it was just a let them race strategy. But in Brazil specifically, so last time someone was given a penalty for brake check, like we pointed out in our last podcast, was Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton, right? And then it was a 10-second stop and go penalty, I think, for Seb,
Yeah, Seb,
because he
yeah.
crashed into Lewis. But whatever. So it was dangerous driving, basically, right? So it should have been a 10-second stop and go penalty for Verstappen, but since there was a post race penalty, it should have been, but it was a 10-second stop and go penalty essentially, if he would have pitted after that. But that should have been converted into a 30-second post race penalty, and if it was a 30-second post race penalty,
Verstappen would have
then
been,
Max would have been behind on points. So very interesting there, which is why Lando also came out and said that when he was asked in the Thursday press conference as to how he's going to beat Ferrari, Lando said, "Well, I'm just gonna brake check Ferrari and win because it's only a 10-second time penalty apparently." So cheeky there from Lando, and then that goes to show that the FIA there might have been a decision that let's just let them go level on points, because had Max finished fourth, I believe, last weekend behind Ocon and Valtteri, he would have been how many points behind Lewis? So he was 8 points ahead going into it. He finished for 12 points. So 13, 5 points
yeah.
behind, Lewis. So he would have had to win the race if Lewis was gonna finish second or higher. He would have had to win the race. The pressure would have been insane, right? I mean, it's the way you put it, right? Right now he has to just finish ahead of Lewis, which is technically still first because of the pace that Lewis and that Mercedes have. But the storyline would have been really different. The pressure would have been really on because he would have had to win the race or beat Lewis by 5 points, which is not easy, right? Especially in the lower positions. So that was that, and then Tommy also pointed out that. So remember when Michael Massey came on to the radio and said, Lewis will be reprimanded if he does it again. When Lewis basically ran Verstappen off track when he took back the position. So this I didn't know about. This is what I learned though, was had Hamilton been reprimanded, that would have been his third reprimand of the season, and he would have had I think a 10 plays grid penalty or something like that.
Oh,
So he would have started the race at the back.
interesting.
It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
So a lot of shenanigans went on up, I guess, in the steward's office, and definitely, a lot to think about, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's multiple incidents happening on track on Sunday that we might not see any penalties, at least in the first half of the race.
Yeah.
So watch out for that. But yeah, it just goes to show that FIA can definitely influence the results a lot. And I don't know, like personally not a fan of it, but given the hype around the season, I guess F1 and FIA are just trying to absolutely milk it and get the absolute last ounce out of all the publicity and the hype they can get out of the season, because who knows when it's going to happen again, especially with the rule changes coming next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the number of Instagram stories I saw this past week from mutual friends and like basically our friends whoever posted Formula One stories and all that. I never knew that half of my Instagram followers watch Formula One, and
Dude,
it is because of this season.
5 years back in school, there was like three
Yeah,
odd people.
I was coming to that. I was coming
who
to
would
that.
watch Formula One, and now like everybody knows about it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, you don't know about it. But I understand
I
where that
was-
mentality comes from, because F1 used to be like a unique thing
Yeah.
about you and your personality, and now with so many people joining, you just want to protect that identity.
I was saving that school story for the post season podcast. But yeah.
I mean, it's definitely great to have so many people talk about F1. But definitely, there's a part of me that also winces sometimes. When people talk about F1, but because they've just only started to follow F1, they just don't know that much about the storylines. So it's hard to have it's like when you know more about it, but you're still trying to have like an equal conversation, I guess.
Yeah.
With it becomes difficult sometimes. So I can understand why F1 fans who've been following F1 for long, complain about DTS fans. But at the same time, give it 5 years, and then you'll cherish a larger community, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who know as
I mean,
much about F1.
everyone
as
has
you.
to start at some point,
Exactly. We are 22 minutes in, Vedant. We have to wrap this up pretty quickly. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's hard to get the words out right now. But obviously, in other news, FIA also announced 6 venues for the sprint races in 2022, which we will cover in a separate podcast altogether, because obviously we don't like sprint races, as we have said multiple times. But F1 will be going to Bahrain, Imola, Austria, Canada, Brazil, and Zandvoort for sprint races. Quick opinion on this, Vedant.
I mean, I think inclusion of Austria and Bahrain was a no-brainer, and even Canada, they will produce good racing. I am skeptical about Zandvoort and Imola, and I know you are too. But yeah,
Yeah, we definitely I share the same concerns, like we talked offline I think a couple days ago. But yeah, so let's see what the stewards do. Let's see what Michael Massey does on Sunday. Let's see what Max and Lewis do on Sunday, and let's see what Christian and Toto do on Sunday. But before we close this out, Vedant, just one controversial opinion about the season. What I have learned from the season and what I've learned when I look back on Michael Schumacher and Damon Hill's season from 96, I guess.
Yeah.
94.
90s.
95 and something like
90,
that. It's okay. I'm not Seb. I can make mistakes. The lesson learned for all drivers, I feel it should be, is that do not take your championship rival out at the end of the season. Take them out in the middle of the season a couple times, and it'll be fine. Because the conversation just completely changes when there's a possibility of that happening at the end of the season. And I'm just saying, way better if you take them out earlier. It's a different conversation. It's just a mistake. It's only a 10-second time penalty and not a points deduction and not disqualification and whatnot. Just saying, just putting it out there. Use it as you wish, but that is my lesson learned for this season. Okay, Vedant, final thoughts.
Well,
It's time for final thoughts.
I mean, as we said in the Saudi review, right, that all we want is a fair race, and I think if they race fairly, anyone wins, anyone loses, I couldn't care less. It would be a great season nonetheless. But if they make contact or anything like that happens,
Vedant, I don't hear the excitement in your voice. Where is that excitement?
yeah, well, I'm just I'm a little scared. That feeling from Sundays back.
Oh, should we not talk about this? Should we just let it be?
No, talk about it all you want.
Well, it's time to close the podcast. I am really excited. Even if Vedant doesn't sound excited, I'm pretty sure he'll be, and he'll be blowing up my phone at 6 in the morning here. So don't listen to him. But I hope you enjoy the race on Sunday as much as I will. And let's see what happens. I am really, really, really excited. It's hard to sit still. It's hard to concentrate on work. It's hard to do anything. This weekend I'm gonna spend at home the entire time, because wake up is early. I'm gonna try and watch FP3 at 3:30 in the morning. Obviously, there is also the FP2 season finale, so don't forget to follow that either. With Oscar Piastri trying to steal the title over the next 3 races. But obviously, the bigger story is Max versus Lewis. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna not win? Let's see what happens. I'm just gonna keep repeating myself if we go on. So thank you for listening to us. Thank you for joining us throughout the entire season, and let's just wait for the fireworks.
Let's just see.
I'll catch you on the next one, Vedant.